Hey there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we'll be continuing with the My Thoughts, My Team, My Thoughts, My Team series. And joining me today from My Thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers is Michael Sicoli. Michael, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm repping the Steelers shirt. I'm going all in today. I'm excited for this.
Yesterday I did a whole bunch of these, and I'm a big hockey fan because I'm from Canada. So I had a different hockey jersey for each city. I'm in a t-shirt today. By about 5 of those, I was dripping sweat with a freaking hockey jersey on. So no more jerseys during podcasts. I can't do it. I'm too old and fat and out of shape, and I'm sweating through them. So t-shirts from now on.
Fair enough. Mine is extra, extra large. I ordered a large, and it seemed to have added a few more X's on there. So it drips a little bit on the sides, but hey, that's, I'll just let it loose,
I haven't been with pandemic and whatnot. I haven't been to the that many games lately. So I haven't worn my jerseys all that often, and it seems that my jerseys are a little smaller than I remember.
It's definitely that.
Tighter. Yeah, I think the jersey shrunk. Yeah. My stomach, my belly didn't get bigger. The jersey shrunk. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So, Michael, why don't you tell everyone where they can find your work?
Sure. So my handle right here is in the banner for anyone watching on YouTube at Michael__Sicoli. I do a weekly IDP, that's defensive fantasy football newsletter with the IDP guys, and I also started up a dynasty show with Club Fantasy at Club Fantasy FFL, going every Sunday. So all fantasy stuff, but you'll find it all on my Twitter right there.
I'm glad you said the _ because I was looking. I'm zoomed out because I'm about to transition, and I'm going, is that just a really fucking big underscore, or is that a double? So I couldn't see.
No, I was late. I was too late to getting one underscore, and I feel like I have to change it, but it's lasted this long.
See, I came up with mine about a year and a half ago. Someone in my league nicknamed me, and I typed in the FF Mad Scientist, not realizing there was a Mad Scientist FF. And I don't know how many times I was in a podcast the one day. I was just in the group, the YouTube chat talking football, and they were back and forth, and the guy kept calling me Damien, and I'm going, no, the people do this all the time. I'm Aaron. The other guy's Damien with the FF after. So probably should have done a little more research, but honestly, when I came up with the Twitter tag, I didn't expect to actually go anywhere with it, so I wasn't really worried about infringing on somebody else's name. But now it's a problem.
Please tell me that you guys have collabed on some point. Got two mad scientists on the same call. That feels like something that has to happen.
You know what? We've talked on Twitter, and I think we're in a league or two, but no, we haven't really. That's write that down. Damien.
Well, now everyone's got something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's someone I don't know why. I never think to reach out to the actual person with the same freaking name as me, but I should do that. Yeah, I don't even know where he works. I'm sure I've looked and he's bigger than me. He has like 30 times as many followers, so maybe I should collab with him. But anyways, without further ado, let me see if I can transition this stupid graphic semi-seamlessly. Almost like I knew what I'm doing. All right, so we have the ESPN roster put into a nice little graphic made by me. The starting quarterback is Kenny Pickett, and hopefully we've seen the last of Mitchell Trubisky. Pickett, I have him at a ceiling of about a mid to high-end QB2. What are your thoughts on Pickett?
I'm more or less in the same area. It's probably that QB 10 ceiling, and I don't know if you'll get there. I do firmly expect the Steelers offense just as a whole to be infinitely better than last year. And just to touch on the draft real quick, which just happened last week, Broderick Jones, adding that in at left tackle from the first round, allowed 1 sack all year last year. Kenny Pickett averaged 6.2 yards per pass thrown last year, which was 33rd in the league. There are 32 NFL teams. He was 33rd. So you're hoping that this offense gets opened up. They're able to throw deeper because Dan Moore, who played left tackle, allowed 7 sacks last year, a whole bunch of pressures, one of the lowest graded Steelers players on the offense. So you're hoping you're going to see this offense open up, a little bit more explosive plays, a higher ceiling for Pickett. He's still not going to be the top 12 guy, but I think you can hope for that QB 15.
Yeah, I think he's a solid, number 2 quarterback in a super flex league or even a bye week, a QB2, but not really anything to see there as far as the quarterback room. At least we would hope. If Mitchell Trubisky's starting at any point, something's gone horribly, horribly wrong in Pittsburgh.
I'm not even sure why he's there anymore, but
I don't know.
I
Gotta have
don't
someone.
make the calls.
Well, they're paying him. But moving on to the running back room, we've got Najee Harris, who figures to have the majority of the work. Jaylen Warren will probably be used, maybe 25, 30% of the time. Anthony McFarland and Jason Huntley figure to be there for depth pieces. Harris has the rebound, I would assume. I know I only owned him in a few leagues. I took him at the end of the first round, late second round in a few leagues, and he freaking killed me to the point where I couldn't even trade him. I just ended up holding on to him. Luckily, he finished pretty strong, so I'm hoping he can carry on to that with that. And if he rebounds in any way, like even if he's not a top 6, even if he's a top 15, I think he's going to be a value because his ADP is so suppressed. So what are your thoughts on Harris and Jaylen Warren?
I think Harris is due for a big year. I really do, because we talked about it last week. We talked about it the year before. The Steelers' offensive line has been a complete and utter mess, and they've made every single effort to fix that this year. They signed Nate Herbig, Eagles guard in line. They signed another Eagles guard in Isaac Samalu, 2 new starters who should help in the run game. They added Broderick Jones to replace Dan Moore. There's just so much that will be improved this year, in addition to hopefully a better passing attack that should open up more lanes. And the big thing with Najee, you touched on there, better second half of the year, was a top 5 fantasy running back over the last 6 weeks of the season, give or take in certain formats. And that's because he had a Lisfranc injury. He had a freaking screw in his foot for half the year. He got that screw out. The offense got a little bit better as Pickett found a little bit more of a rhythm, and he was very good for fantasy. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of the back half than the front half, and if he's valued in drafts around that RB, he'll probably go off the board as like RB9, RB10. I think he'll finish a little bit ahead of that.
I don't even think he's going to go that high.
Even more for me than maybe RB14. But I feel like it's something that people will come back around to when we get to August. He's still the very clear leader of this backfield. I don't expect Jaylen Warren to be anything more than a change of pace.
He killed people in the early half of last season. Yeah. And I know one thing, it's fantasy managers overreact when they get burned by someone. I think he's going to fall to 15 or so, and that's probably why I will roster him in a whole bunch of leagues.
If it's 15, I'm going to be all in on it. I mean, it's how you're not going to get a 3-down guy at 15 elsewhere. So if I want to start wide receiver heavy, if it's super flex and I get my 2 quarterbacks or something like that, I get my elite tight end and I can still get an RB1 at RB2 value, why not smash that home?
Next, let's take a look at the wide receiver room. That, I think, amounts to a 2-man group, with Pat Freiermuth probably being the third best pass catcher, Deontay Johnson, who I find to be very much underrated, and George Pickens, who I think is very much overrated. Then we have Allen Robinson listed as the third. I think I'm just done with him. He's in the boat there with Julio and Michael Thomas on guys that I'm just done with, and I've accepted that they're washed up. We have on the bench side Calvin Austin, who I expected a little more out of as a rookie. He's a speed guy, but never really got a chance. The ghost of Anthony Miller is still lurking. Miles Boykin has some value here and there from spot starts. And Des Fitzpatrick did nothing in Tennessee. I don't expect much here. Like I said, I expect this to be Deontay, probably a pretty solid wide receiver 2. I think Pickens will be a wide receiver 3. And the third most reliable pass catcher, possibly even second, will be Pat Freiermuth. I think this is pretty easily Johnson for me here. Pickens, I think, is going to be overvalued just because he's going to have 1 or 2 blow-up games and make a spectacular highlight reel catch per game. But I think at the cost, I'd much rather have Johnson, especially a lot of the drafts I've seen, Pickens goes before Deontay. So I think I would rather have him. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room?
I think we're just on the same level today here, Aaron. I'm for this Deontay Johnson. You talk about a Steeler that burnt someone last year. That was Deontay just as much, if not more.
Yeah. No, I own both of them on multiple rosters. That was pleasant.
Yeah, so as did I. And people were hurt by Deontay. And listen, the talent hasn't changed. He still commands that target share. Even last year, he had a tremendous target share. It's just what I talked about before. Kenny Pickett being 33rd in yards per pass thrown, they're meaningless targets. Those will go up, but the targets will remain the same because Deontay Johnson is a dang good player. So I'm in on Deontay Johnson. He's probably going to be on a lot of my teams as well. Pickett I like, or Pickens I like. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit more inconsistent because I'm not expecting Kenny Pickett to be that QB1 that supports 2 wide receivers. So if Pickens gets in the end zone, fantastic. I think you're going to have a lot of weeks where it's 3 for 40, 2 for 20. You're going to have a 6 for 101 and 2, but I think I'll be in on him in best ball formats pretty heavily. I'll be excited. But outside of that, I'm probably going to be a little bit more hurt in the same lens of what Mike Williams has been in years past prior to this past season.
Well, like I said, I own Najee and Deontay on quite a few teams, and it killed me. But that's where I came up. Before this, I was a poker player, and I think that's where that comes in handy. What happened last hand doesn't affect the next hand. What happened last year doesn't mean anything this year. Like, they're two guys who have to experience some positive regression, positive regression, I guess is what it would be. Deontay can't have less touchdowns. I don't see how these two, everyone's going to overreact because, what happened last year has to happen this year. So they're going to be undervalued, and I think they're both going to be a value. Moving on to the tight end room at first, originally this had scared me when I seen Darnell Washington drafted to back up Pat Freiermuth. I thought it killed Freiermuth's value. I love Darnell Washington's athleticism and size going into the draft. Then you find out why he fell so far, and there's a lingering knee issue and an undisclosed lower leg. Well, I guess all leg is lower leg injury. So with the health concerns there and him dropping to round 5, I want to say 4, 5.
Third. They took him in the third.
Still dropping out of the first 2 rounds. I thought he could go in the top 20 at one point, but just based on him falling and the injury concerns, I don't think it hurts Freiermuth nearly as much. And I think I'm still going to be in on Freiermuth, who I think will also be better than he was last year.
See, Darnell Washington's the name of why I like Najee Harris so much and why I believe in this Kenny Pickett second season could be a little bit better. It's because Darnell Washington, for all we want to talk about for fantasy of him being an excellent athlete, 3rd best shuttle time at the combine, despite
a good blocker.
Being a tight end. He's an excellent run blocker. He's a monster of a man at 6'7". And he described himself in a press conference with the Steelers as the 6th offensive lineman. So really, I think he's a healthy mix of what Zach Gentry is as a blocking tight end and what Freiermuth is as a receiver. So for fantasy, it's Freiermuth. We have a very raw profile for him as a receiver. It was Brock Bowers and Brock Bowers only at Georgia. So it doesn't impact my opinion of Muth at all because we'll see if it works for Darnell Washington, it'll happen down the line. It won't happen in 2023.
My first question after the breakdown here was going to be based on what you think ADP will be. I've been using Best Ball ADP. What do you think your target will be on this team? But good God, Pickett, Harris, Deontay, Freiermuth. I think this is going to be buy low central right here. There are a lot of opportunities, but if you had to pick one that you think you're going to be targeting at what you think will be his ADP, who would it be?
I personally think people are going to be a little bit more forgiving of Najee Harris than you think. I'm not that interested in Pickett this year because I think he's a borderline streamer at best. So Deontay Johnson is the clear winner for me. I think it's a guy that is due to see his yards per target infinitely rise from what that offense was last year. He's still still a really good player, like I said before. Still will command a lead this team in targets. They're going to need to throw the ball. I do believe Deontay Johnson's due for a much needed bounce back to the tune of maybe a top 15 season. And you're going to get him at your wide receiver 27-30 mark.
I agree. Actually, in fact, I have a rookie draft due to start up that I'm the commissioner, so I have to queue it up after I'm done this. And I may send out one of my 2nd round picks that I have a whole bunch of and try and buy low on Deontay. And since this podcast isn't live and won't air, by the time this airs, I probably have already robbed him of Deontay Johnson. So, haha.
In a heartbeat, I would send a second. I think that's another good idea to look at it of this class, right? It's not all that. There's names we like. I like Jaden Reed, guy who went to the Packers. But very quickly, we're talking about Marvin Mims. We're talking about Rashee Rice. I like
I like
Cedric Tillman,
Mims,
but
didn't like Rice,
yeah,
loved Tillman, don't like the landing spot.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Love Tillman. I think he's better than Jalen Hyatt. But Browns, how long is that going to
It's
take?
not even close. He's
Yeah,
way better than Hyatt.
exactly. So we're talking about, but all those guys are going to be going in the second round. And I would take Deontay Johnson over all those guys in a heartbeat. So even if I have to cough up 2 second rounders and maybe a fringe starter,
Whoa.
go for it.
I don't know if I can cough up 2. I gotta have me that 1 second round pick to make sure I secure my Roshan Johnson share.
Okay. If you're that big of a Roshan guy, you could hold on to that 206, 204. But I'm willing to move both of them. I'll move a day 3 running back and a middling wide receiver prospect for Deontay Johnson in a heartbeat.
All right, that brings us to the other side. Who is a player you think you would like to avoid? And of course, my dog is barking, so excuse that.
My easy answer would be Kenny Pickett because I just don't see the ceiling here. But because he's somebody who's going to be going late in drafts, we don't expect him to hit a ceiling. I'm not going to mention him. I am somewhat on the same page with you. I don't quite see the Pickens living up to ADP. I think he'll be a good player, but I believe he's the type of guy who's going to finish where he is drafted. And if that happens, you're going to be disappointed. And if you have best ball ADP, I would love to know where he's going right now in best ball.
I don't have it on me, but he was going to be my choice because last time I did look at best by ADP, he was going over Deontay Johnson, which means I'm just going to pass on him and take Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, so. It's just not going to happen for me. Like, I'm fine with it. It'll be fun. The catches will be spectacular, and he'll have some really good moments. But I think you're just going to be hurt just as much as you feel good about it. You're going to be hurt as much as you're helped. And those type of players, they have a role on your roster. But if I have to take him as my wide receiver 2, where he's going off the board, even my wide receiver 3 in some formats, it's just not for me. Maybe you could talk to me. I'm a little bit more open to in a half PPR. Full PPR, I just don't think he's going to see enough targets to really compete consistently with the other guys.
Do you have a sleeper out of anyone on here? It's tough because a lot of them are undervalued. Maybe Deontay's. I think Deontay's too highly ranked to be a sleeper, but I really don't know.
If I had to pick one, and I really don't think there is, because I don't think I think the offense will be better. I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs high flying, give me all the pieces type of guys. Yeah. But I'll throw in a guy you mentioned before, Calvin Austin. If I had to pick one of these guys to play in the slot, it would be him. Undersized, undersized, really fast, dominated the Senior Bowl last year. A good player, just was hurt and missed the entire year with a foot injury. Never really got even a chance to show what he could do. Allen Robinson is absolute dust, and if he isn't, he won't play in the slot. So if they do go with a 3 wide receiver set, which they probably won't do all that often, it probably will be Calvin Austin getting the biggest shot at that, but it's going to be a heavy 12 personnel team.
All righty. If you had to guess, where do you think they finish in the division? I have them 3rd. Yourself?
It is tough because I think they take the step forward. I have no idea what to expect with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland this year. It's really such a big question mark. I think they finished 3rd. I think Mike Tomlin's too good of a coach to finish last. And when you have that type of history, you know what the baseline is for Mike Tomlin's Steelers and a team that should be better because it is a much better offensive line this year. Defense still has plenty of holes, but I think they'll finish 3rd. Bengals will rule this division. I think the Ravens will probably take 2nd. Browns still going to finish in last.
They finished 9-8 last year. Over, under, or the same wins?
They max out at 10. They bottom out at 7. I'm going to say they're around the same. I want to say 500, but 500 is not a thing anymore.
No, not anymore. So.
Yeah,
I feel like this. Yeah, that's what I've always been saying. 9-8, 8-9, split the difference on 500. So, All right, thanks, Michael. Would you like to take another chance here to tell everyone where they can find your work?
Sure. Again, check out my Twitter at Michael__2_Sicoli. That's SICOLI on Twitter. That's where I put out all of my content where I talk offensive dynasty, I talk defensive dynasty, I talk defense and offense. I do everything NFL because I am just addicted to this league. So, check out my Twitter. I got linked to my newsletter in there as well if you want to check it out. A lot of fun, unique stuff. So please do. I appreciate you having me on, Aaron. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure. All righty. This has been my thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers with Michael Sicoli. Thank you, everyone, for checking in The series should continue tomorrow. Don't know who we have in store. I'm thinking the Raiders tomorrow, but I'm not sure. But anyways, there will be another team on the My Thoughts series due in tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on the Mad Science Lab podcast. Take care, everyone. And thanks again, Michael.
Of course.